Part of this course, a big part of this course, is the final project that's due, and it's called an Individual Learning Differences Case Study. And the purpose of this assignment is to apply the knowledge that you've acquired during this course to a real life situation. I think that one of the biggest values of getting the information from all of the endorsement courses, certainly combined, but I think especially this first course, is really being able to help parents, teachers, school counselors, whoever it is who don't have background in gifted education, to be able to help them with individual students. And we've talked about this a lot in the course, but something that is very important is that we do understand that it is very much about individuals. Even when students are identified and grouped together for gifted programming, their individual differences and characteristics of giftedness that take them there are also unique. So we have created a case study, and this case study highlights a little girl named Alejandra. And when you read the case study, this is the case study right here. It's Alejandra. She's a third grade student at Anywhere Elementary School. And as you will read and study the case study, you'll see that there are a lot of facts in this case study about her. She comes from a bilingual home, and her participation in school is, of course, unique to her. You'll learn about that, about what her strengths are, her interests, her weaknesses, her hobbies. You'll even see down here that there's some information about her, some information that we have about testing. So your job is going to be to work as a cohort group, because hopefully when we're studying and learning about students, we're doing it in a group so that we bring everyone's perspective together. And you're going to study, gather information about her, and then you're going to make some specific recommendations. Before we talk about those specific recommendations, though, I would like to point out that it is impossible for us to create a case study that includes every detail that you would be able to know about a student if you were sitting around the table with 4 or 5 people who knew that student well. So there are going to be times during this case study when you'll have to make some assumptions. And so just be explicit about the assumptions that you're making. And, just stay focused on the information in the case study, but it's okay to make some assumptions along the way. So after you study the case study, what you're going to do is you're going to prepare a document, a paper that overviews these 3 things, because this is really what we do when we study a student and really gather and know information about them. What do we do with it? How do we help them? What recommendations do we make to classroom teachers, to parents, and even to the student themselves? So the first section is called Introduction of the Learner. And in that section, sometimes it feels to course participants that they are just regurgitating the information, but it's really not to be that. You're taking the information that you know, and you're just introducing the student. So now that you know this general information about her, introduce us to her. Who is she? What do you synthesize about her? What do you know about her as a human in her family, as an individual in a classroom? What she likes, just all of her humanness. And you're going to also make some connections to characteristics of giftedness. So as you're introducing her, you can speak about some of the characteristics of giftedness that you've learned in this course, whether it be positive characteristics or negative characteristics. We want you to cite the readings that you've done in this course, or videos or things that you've read, so that we know that you're making connections to research and to content. The second section is what we call presentation of evidence. So this is where you're going to dive really deep into who she is as a learner. So considering the informal information that the teacher provides about who she is as a learner in the classroom, what you might surmise about her as a learner based on what she does at home and outside of school, and certainly using the test data. And then the biggest part of this section is going to be a piece about what do we need to know more? What are there other assessments that we should administer, whether they be formal or informal, whether they be classroom assessments or whether they be making maybe perhaps a recommendation for her to be tested for a gifted program, whatever assessments that you think. You do not need to do a lot of research into technical assessment data or technical assessments. Just what additional information would you like to know in order to be able to make the very best decisions possible for her? And something that's very important to know about the case study is that it is not intended for you to make a recommendation about whether or not she's placed in a gifted program. That's far beyond the scope of this course, far beyond the information that we have available in this case study. So no recommendations about placement in a program, but recommendations about what do we need to know about her so that we can support her in whatever classroom she's in. And then that moves into the third section, which is analysis of the evidence. And that's where you're going to say, okay, here's everything we know about her, both as a human, as a learner, and what recommendations do we make going forward? And please be sure to include recommendations for what do we do in the classroom setting to support her needs? How might we support her advanced needs? How might we support some deficits that she has? And what recommendations could we make to the parents that they might be able to help support her at home and to support the school efforts? And again, in this section, please make reference to the readings and the videos, the content from the course, so that we know that you are basing your recommendations on the things that you've learned and on research-based evidence. Then you'll submit this as a whole group. So we would like for you to work on this as your cohort group, study Alejandra, put together the information for each of the sections, and then prepare a paper which we would not expect to be any longer at the most than 3 pages. Typical length that adequately addresses all of the sections is about 2 pages. But again, it doesn't have to be 2 pages and it doesn't have to be less than 3. That would just be a general guideline, whatever you need to share the information that you feel like you need to make. So we are presenting this case study to you in this format so that you have the details you need. We also want you to know that, of course, on Mondays at 4:30, we are always in our Zoom meeting. If you have additional questions about it, either after you watch this video or as you start working on it, you can reach out to us via email or jump into one of the Zoom meetings. Also, what will be posted right alongside this case study is an exemplar. So the exemplar is what we would hope, it gives an example of what we would hope you would include and how you would approach this case study. But just know that it's a different case study. So the specifics are different, but it'll give you an idea of what to do. And that will also be helpful to you. So good luck. You all have done an amazing job delving into the content of the course, and we know that you're prepared, well prepared to be able to analyze this case study and make some recommendations about this student. So good luck, and let us know if you need any help.